Hello learner, welcome once again to Manifested e-learning platform. My name is James Kenyani. We are going to proceed with the topic on reflection and congruence. And in our today's lesson, we are going to look at direct congruence and indirect congruence. The objective of the lesson is for the learner to identify direct congruence and indirect congruence. So the learner should be able to identify the two. But before we go very far, we need to recap and ask ourselves, what is congruence? What is congruence? That's why I use this rhombus. I use that rhombus. You look at the upper side, it is exactly the same as the lower half. So when I fold and it fits exactly into the other half, it is correct to say that the upper part is congruent to the lower part. So we see congruency when objects of the same shape have same shape and size and can fit onto each other. So when objects have the same shape and size and can fit onto each other, they are congruent. Like in the same case I've demonstrated, they are exactly the same. In simple terms, they are exactly the same. So, number two, we move to our topic. We want to identify direct congruence and indirect congruence. This will also enable us to show a direct congruence. But we start with, this will show us indirect congruence, but we start with what we call direct congruence. Direct congruence. Direct. So we know the learner should be able to know that, should be able to know if I have this pen here and I slide it up to there into a space equal to the same pen, I've translated. So we get, in most cases, we get direct congruence in what we call translations, moving translations. And we shall get a good example below. We are going to get a good example below. I'll start with a small triangle here to enable us to get what we have. This is the triangle. I'll have triangle ABC, ABC. So if I translate, move it, I'll get C prime. I get B prime. And I get A prime. All the vertices have moved a fixed distance. It has been translated. So what do we notice? Triangle ABC has been translated over a fixed distance to go and fit into an exact position A prime, B prime, C prime. When we have such a case, this is direct congruence. When we can slide the object to go and fit, translate the object to go and fit into another exact position, we call it congruence. In this case, triangle ABC has been translated to go and fit into triangle A prime, B prime, C prime, which is exactly the same as A, B, C. In such a case, we call that direct congruence. That is direct congruence. I don't need to flip, not like reflection where I flip. Is that correct? In reflection, you flip over. It's a flip over of the image, but in translation, you slide. So in this case, in the case above, where we slide the object to fit onto the image, we call it direct congruence. Direct congruence. Mostly experienced in translations. Experienced in translations. So most translations, all of them, will give what we call direct congruence. Will give direct congruence. We move to indirect congruence just before I jot down. Look at this parallelogram. It has a part above exactly the same as one below. This line can act like a reflection line, but not as in translation. In translation, I slid, isn't it? I slid the object to fit onto the image. But in reflection, learner, what is happening? In reflection, is it sliding? Look carefully. Is it sliding? It is flipping over. A flip over. Look at what is happening, learner. A flip over. Isn't it? You need to flip over. So in reflection, in most cases, we shall get indirect congruence. You flip over. I'm flipping over to fit onto the other, the image. So that one is indirect congruence. Indirect congruence. Indirect congruence. So this explains direct congruence, and let's look at the direct congruence. Indirect. So it is mostly experienced in reflection. It is mostly experienced in reflection. So let's look at direct, indirect congruence. It is experienced in reflections. Is experienced in reflections. But you'll experience a unique case. Most of you, if you are boys here, you've gone to the barber, where we have a mirror behind and a mirror below. We have multiple reflections. The only unique case will be got when we have multiple reflections. When we have multiple reflection, it will change to direct congruence. But when you have one mirror, that will always be indirect congruence. So it is experienced in reflections in one mirror line or reflecting line. But for the case of the barber, we don't have one mirror line. We have one behind you, another one behind you, another one in front. So it's multiple reflection. It will be as if you are slid. So when you go to the barber next time, and we have those two mirrors, notice that one is what? Direct congruence, because we have multiple reflections. So it is as if they slid you to go and fit in that person you see in that mirror. But if it is one reflecting line, we get indirect congruence. So with a figure, now look at the difference in reflection. Look at the difference in reflection. Look at A. It's as if I need to flip over, just like I showed in the rhombus. I need to flip over to turn over. I need to flip over. So if I have this, if that was the mirror line, this is the object. I need to flip over to come to the image. You need to flip over to come to the image. In the case of reflection, in this case, same to B and C. In such a case where we need to flip over, just like the way I've shown in this rhombus, you don't slide, you flip over, because the corresponding image is here. But this, because it was on the mirror line, it remained there. But for this one, I needed to flip over. Such a case, A case is called direct, indirect congruence. Congruence. Not that. That one is called indirect congruence. But I'm going to give a unique case of reflection. There is a unique case of reflection that leads to direct congruence. So you write, there is a unique case of reflection that gives direct congruence. Direct congruence, where we have multiple reflections. Reflection e.g. in a barber's shop or a salon with a mirror in front and another behind. A mirror in front and another behind. That one will give direct congruence. Direct congruence. So such a case above will give direct congruence. But if you have just one mirror, it will always be a flip over. It will always be a flip over. So for the assignment, and just before I write it, let's recap. We've said what is congruence. Congruence is when refers to the exact relationship of a same shape, same size, and where one can fit onto each other. Two, we've looked at direct congruence, like in most translations, where you slide and fit onto the image. We've also looked at indirect congruence, where you need to flip over to fit onto the other, the image. Thirdly, we've looked at a unique case of direct congruence of reflection, where you'll get multiple reflections. A case where you get multiple reflection, you'll end up having direct congruence. So at that juncture, I think the learner, you've struck the difference between the two. You've known where we get indirect and where we get indirect. So at that juncture, go through the assignment given, use a diagram to show direct and indirect congruence before we meet in the next lesson. So thank you for that audience, and continue enjoying our mathematics lessons. Bye.